Chapter. In this one, we are rendering the clothes of our characters. Before diving into drawing clothing, it's vital to understand how fabric behaves and fits on the body. This knowledge will inform how we depict the clothing realistically and enhance the overall composition of our illustration. Different types of fabric react differently to movement, light, and water. Some common fabrics to consider when drawing clothing are cotton, is light and breathable, often dropping softly on the body. It can create gentle folds and has a slightly textured surface. As another example, silk has a smooth, lustrous finish that catches light beautifully. It flows elegantly and creates soft, graceful lines. When wet, silk clings more closely to the body. For characters, we'll be depicting light, flowing fabrics, likely resembling cotton or chiffon, which will emphasize their connection to the water and nature. The way clothing fits on the body is crucial for realism. Some key concepts to keep in mind are fit and structure. Clothing can be fitted or loose. Fit clothing will contour the body shape, while loose clothing will have more space and may billow out. Since our characters are lying down, their clothing may appear looser due to gravity, but should still follows the body's contour. Consider how gravity affects the fabric. When the characters are in the water, their clothes will cling and drape differently than if they were standing. The fabric may gather in certain areas, particularly where it overlaps or when their bodies make contact with the water. Folds and creases are essential for conveying how clothing fits and moves. Identify areas where the fabric naturally gathers, such as underarms, around the waist, and at joints. These folds can indicate motion and help define the shape of the clothing. When drawing characters in a dynamic setting like lying in the water, consider how the fabric interacts with the water. Water will cause the fabric to cling closely to the body, accentuating curves and shapes. The presence of water also introduces ripples and webs in the fabric, so think about how the water flows around the characters and how the fabric might respond. Wet fabric often has a slightly darker hue compared to dry fabric. As you render the clothing, keep in mind that wet areas may require deeper shadows or slightly altered colors to convey that they are damp. Now that we have solid understanding of fabric and fit, let's dive into the process of establishing the basic shapes for the clothing. This step is crucial as it sets the foundation for the rest of your rendering. This step is crucial as it sets the foundation for the rest of your rendering. Basic shapes serve us as the building blocks of any drawing. They allow you to simplify complex forms into manageable parts. By starting with these shapes, you can create a more accurate representation of the clothing and how it drapes over the body. In our scene, we'll be focusing on how the characters' clothing fits their bodies while lying in the water. This means paying attention to both the form and flow of the garments. Before drawing the clothing, it's essential to have a clear understanding of the underlying body structure. This includes the general proportion of the human figure and how clothing interacts with different body parts. Identify key landmarks such as the shoulders, waist, hips, and joints, as these points will guide where the fabric will fall and how it will drape. This means focus on their anatomy and how it influences the clothing. Consider how the clothing fits the body. For this illustration, I'm drawing loose clothes. To start, you have to sketch basic shapes for their garments, flowing tops, loose sleeves, and flowing fabric around the waist. Use soft curved lines to indicate the dropping fabric, reflecting its lightweight nature. Once you have established the basic shapes, start layering additional shapes to add complexity. Think about how different parts of the clothing overlap or layer over one another. For example, if one character has a loose top, you might show how it gathers at the shoulders or falls over the arms. This layering creates a more dynamic and realistic representation. I'm directly painting over the character. I'm not doing a sketch because I'm crazy, but it's better to sketch first, like I was saying before. As you build these shapes, pay attention to the flow and movement of the fabric. Use sweeping lines to suggest how the clothing flows with the body and the water. You can draw the edges of the garments with gentle curves indicating movement as they float in the water. This adds a sense of life and realism to the clothing. After establishing the basic shapes, take a moment to refine them. Check the proportions and adjust where necessary to ensure the clothing looks natural. For instance, if the sleeves appear too long or short, make adjustments to ensure they align with the body accurately. Once you're satisfied with the basic shapes, you can start adding details such as folds, seams, or any decorative elements. These details will help enhance the realism of the clothing. This is a crucial step as it will help us create depth and dimension. White clothing can be deceptively difficult to render because it reflects light and color differently than other hues. A few challenges we might face are that pure white can easily become too stark, making it look flat or washed out. Instead, we need to consider how different lighting conditions affect the appearance of white clothing. Also, white fabrics can take on subtle colors depending on their environment. For instance, reflection from the water or surrounding can influence the tones we use. To begin rendering white clothing, we won't start with pure white. Instead, select a very light pastel pink or an off-white hue as your base color. This will help create a more realistic representation as subtle color will help reflect the ambient environment while maintaining the illusion of white. Using broad substrokes, apply the base color to the garments. This will create an even foundation that you can build upon. Next, to give shadows to our clothing depth and dimension, consider where the light source is coming from. In our scene, it might be from sky above, reflecting on the water. Shadows will naturally occur where the fabric overlaps, gathers, or groups around the body. These areas will be slightly darker than the base color. For shadows, select a slightly darker pastel blue or even a soft gray that complements your base color. This will help create a harmonious look without overpowering the white. After adding shadows, we can focus on highlights. Highlights should be highlights should be placed where light hits the fabric most directly, such as the tops of folds and raised areas. For our illustration, we can use a very light pastel blue or a soft white to represent these highlights. Highlight area should be subtle and not too overpowering. The goal is to suggest that the fabric is catching the light without losing its overall white appearance. Since our characters are lying in the water, we need to consider how the wet fabric look. We need to consider how the wet fabric looks. Wet clothing often appears darker and clings more closely to the body. Where the clothing is in contact with the water, add slightly deeper shadows to indicate that the fabric is wet and clinging. Incorporate subtle ripples and reflection in the clothing. This can be created by blending lighter blues with the base and shadow colors. Once the base colors, shadows, and highlights are applied, step back and assess your work. Make sure that the colors harmonize well with the overall bluish tones of the illustrations. Adjust any areas that seem too stark or out of balance. Our goal is to create a cohesive look that fits seamlessly into the scene. Finally, soften any harsh transition between colors. Use a blending tool or a soft brush to gently blend the edges of shadows and highlights into the base color, ensuring a smooth transition. Step back and assess your work. Finally, add any last minute details, such as stitching or patterns if desired. This can add character to the clothing without overwhelming the overall simplicity of the design. And with this painting session, we're finished. That's all for this chapter. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.